Welcome back. This year, the Florida legislature is expected to focus on property taxes with the goal of placing something on the ballot next year. What that may look like is still being worked out. But this week, I spoke to the Democratic leader of the Florida Senate, Berman.
I think that the property tax issues that have been proposed are a distraction from the real issue, which is affordability for Floridians. I mean, they're talking about lowering property taxes, and certainly, there are things that can be done to lower property taxes. But when you start talking about eliminating property taxes, you're actually reducing services for the people who live in those homes. Who's going to pay for the garbage collection? Who's going to pay for the infrastructure, our roads and our bridges? Who's going to make sure that the firefighters can come to your house in a short period of time instead, coming if you need them? Are they going to be there in 5 minutes, or are they going to be there in a half an hour? So when you're talking about putting money in somebody's pocket because you're reducing property taxes, if you are actually reducing the services that the individual gets, is that a trade-off that people want to vote for? But what I think that could be a trade-off that people really will want to vote for is making some changes to our property insurance. Right now, we are the second highest in the nation. We pay more than twice as much as the rest of the nation for our property insurance. The average is something like $2,400 in the nation, $5,600 in Florida. And I venture to guess that most of the people in the South Florida area are paying even a significant amount more than that. If we can lower property insurance and put the focus there, that will put more money into people's pockets instead of property taxes.
The governor seems to be trying to create the perception, both through his efforts with DOGE and the chief financial officer's efforts of going around and lambasting various counties, claiming that they are rife with wasteful spending, that you can cut property taxes significantly and have no real impact on service. Do you believe that's a possibility?
I do not believe that that's a possibility. First off, this DOGE program that they're doing, I haven't seen any evidence that there's fraud or cronyism. There may be some waste in local governments, but I don't think there's nearly the amount of waste to make up for the property tax issue. And it's really interesting because I think actually where the waste and the fraud and the cronyism might be taking place are actually on the state level. We have $116 billion budget. Who's doging our budget? Who's looking to make sure that all that money is being spent properly? And we've seen abuses. We've seen $250 million to build an Everglades detention center that was done with no bid contracts. We've seen $10 million go to Hope, Florida, from our taxpayer dollars and then go into political campaigns. We have $30 million from crisis pregnancy centers where it is not required that they have a doctor on staff or anybody medical on staff. We have $4 billion going into vouchers, and yet what kind of accountability do we have for that money? We've heard that there's millions of dollars of duplicate payments in that. So if you want to doge something, and I wouldn't do it, I would doge our federal government. And I have to tell you, I wouldn't do it to affect property taxes. I'd doge it and give people a refund. Why don't we just give people in Florida a refund?
I think two ideas that I've heard circulated, I'm curious as to your reaction on them, is to, one, maybe give a homestead exemption or increase the amount of exemption that first-time home buyers get to try to give them greater entry into the housing market to be able to afford to buy homes. And second, maybe doing more for seniors to maybe increase the types of exemptions that seniors have in Florida, particularly those on limited or fixed incomes. Do you think that there is a way through this that we're likely to see that's more of a targeted basis as opposed to just a broad, we're going to eliminate property taxes for all homesteaded properties?
I absolutely agree with you. I do support some targeted bases, and those are the two areas that I would focus on. First-time home buyers, absolutely. And we're working on a bill in the legislature. It's still an idea in progress for first-time home buyers to take the, not for them not to have to pay documentary stamps tax. So that wouldn't even affect our property taxes. But it's another way for us to be able to give a break to first-time home buyers. And with regards to seniors, absolutely. I'm so concerned that we're pricing our seniors out of their homes right now, especially with all the condo assessments that they've had and the property insurance. So yes, I would consider absolutely doing something for seniors. I think it needs to be needs-based. I don't think it should be an across the board. Once you turn 65, you get a break. We don't want millionaires and billionaires getting, breaks when we need to have, we're a state with no income tax. We need to have money for this state to be able to function. So I do believe that we should focus, and I have no problem with us definitely taking a surgical approach to property tax reform, but not the broad-based way you've seen the governor and the House in their proposals.
All right, so let's turn to the issue that I think you want to try to focus on this coming year in the legislature, which is dealing with property insurance rates. Now, Senator, the legislature has dealt with property insurance issues for years now. I guess what I'm saying is, what's left really to be done at this point that hasn't been tried or attempted?
Thank you for that question. And we know if there was one simple answer, it would have been done already. But what we did, the Elite 11, the Florida senators, we all looked into this and we all filed various bills that address property insurance. And 3 years ago, we did a bill that had to do with prohibiting lawyers from bringing certain lawsuits, or putting, not prohibiting, but putting a pretty significant impediment in it. And at that time, they said, this is going to lower property insurance. You'll see. Well, guess what? Property insurance might be flat, but it isn't lowered. As I said before, we are paying the second highest rates in the country. So we have a lot of proposals that, when taken together, I think if we put some of these into effect, they're going to start to lower property insurance. I'll give you an example of a few. One of them is to actually put a cap on the amount of increase that you can have for property insurance. And we're working with the Office of Insurance Regulation to do that. One of the proposals is that if you feel that your roof is still a high functioning roof, you can ask the company to do an inspection. And if they come up with the fact that your roof still has 5 years left, they have to allow you to be insured, and they have to pay for that inspection since they were the ones who required it. Another proposal that I've done for 3 years that I haven't gotten any response to is to create a council of all the interested people, the insurers, the reinsurers, the trial lawyers, the consumers, the consumer advocates, and give us suggestions. We did it in 2008 and we took some of their suggestions. Obviously, we as the legislators don't have all the answers. Let's get input from other people who have answers. We have just, one of the other suggestions was to put a tax break on if no taxes on if you put new windows in, if you put a new roof in, if you put a new garage door in, if these are things that will lower your property insurance costs. So we have a lot of ideas. There's no one simple solution, but I think our ideas combined could help lower property insurance.
We'll be right back after this break.